Welcome, friends. Namaste to Indic Vichar. Today we go into a territory where we have not gone before, and this is something which I'm doing for the first time. I interviewed quite a lot of people, but then I am going to interview my dear friend Mayuresh Didholkar, who happens to be an author, a film critic, a political commentator, and he has 5 books to his credit already at this very young age. But today we are going to not discuss any books as such. We are going to discuss something again which I have not done till this time in my life. We are going to discuss a movie called Pathaan, right? Which I have not watched. But then the movie is not the point here. What we are going to discuss is that has Pathaan is in a way it's a unique phenomenon, and it has an impact which no earlier movies had on this Bollywood industry and overall on the society. So, Mayuresh, welcome to Indic Vichar. And
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you for having me here.
yeah, so I know you as a political commentator and someone from Nagpur, which happens to be the place which can be created for creating the most happening people on the planet Earth, right?
Completely
So
agree. Yes.
yeah, okay. But I know you as a political commentator and someone who belongs to the right. For lack of better words, I'm using that phrase who belongs to the political right. You don't agree? Right's view on the movies. That's what I think, right? And hence, I will. You like to take that before we go to
Yes.
Pathan?
So, yeah, funny that we should be speaking about this because I think a more accurate description of my political belief would be I caucus with the right rather than my political belief being on the right side.
Okay,
I think there is a
okay,
difference.
okay.
So, from time to time, I find my interest aligned with the interests of the so-called political right in India. Although I must notice that this is not the first time that I am having disagreements with them on the issues of
Correct.
culture, issues related to culture. I think the thing that I am a small businessman, I run my own small business, and I
Brokerage.
think the last 1 year or 1.5 year, the feedback that I have been getting from people like me, who again like me either are on the right or caucus with the right, is there is this deep sense of discomfort about these constant calls to boycott this, don't use that, don't
Okay,
use this, don't use that,
okay, okay.
because that is not at a very fundamental level, that is not a pro business kind of an attitude. And
Approach,
if
yeah, yeah.
the right wing associates itself as being pro business the world over, I think you
Mm-hmm.
cannot have your cake and eat it too. So to that
Mm-hmm.
extent, my opposition to any kind of organized calls to boycott a business have are older than just merely this film. So this is not the first time that I'm
I understand.
expressing those opinions. And I think in this particular case, this is an interesting example because we are seeing that largely the film has done fairly well. Fairly well is an understatement actually. It has done exceptionally well in spite of the calls to boycott or not watch the
Yeah, yeah,
film
yeah.
for whatever reason. So I think to this extent, I find myself uh, belonging to the majority opinion as far as the film is concerned.
Correct. Of course, my question is that is Pathan a new phenomenon as a movie? And before you answer that question, is Pathan the new phenomenon? And by its own by showing that Pathan can succeed, by showing that boycott calls do not matter, what impact it has on the social life and on the society. But before you take that question, I would just like to tell you something that Jagannathan in his one of his comments said that we rather RSS is Hindu left, it is not Hindu right. So that's for
I
some
think
other day. But you
I'm
can
not
take the question. Yeah,
surprised at all that
yeah,
Jaggi has said that. I think anybody who has read Mr. Dattopant Thingdi's The Third Way would
yeah, yeah, yeah.
probably reach to the same conclusion. So people who have actually read about the antecedents of what the RSS movement talks about, I think they would reach this conclusion.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really not surprised with that. As
Okay.
far as the film is concerned, I think I'm really not sure whether I would call it a new phenomenon because it's part of an ongoing spyverse that the Yash Raj films have been creating.
Right. Right.
So they did a war which starred Hrithik Roshan and Tiger Shroff, I think, in 2018, and which was again an exceptionally successful film. The same director Siddharth Anand has directed Pathaan, and now they are talking about the Tiger series. So I think there are two films of Salman Khan with Ek Tha Tiger and Tiger Jinda Hai, if I'm not wrong. So those two films also. So basically, it's a broad spyverse that has been created by Yashraj Films, and this is a continuation of that. However, I think it is also about the time in which it has come out. So a lot of things have to go right in order for a film to do as well as Pathan has done. And I think all of those things have come together very well for the success that the film seems to be enjoying at the box office.
Okay. You mentioned something about the movie War, right?
Hmm.
So as I said, I haven't watched Pathan. I am not a movie buff at all. I watch a movie once in a year, right? So I don't know why I watched War. It must be it must be my kids who, I mean, they don't take any of my uh, intelligent arguments, and they can ramrod through, right? So they don't have time for that kind of an nuance at all. So I mean, I watched War, which for me was kind of 1 out of 5, 1 star out of 5. And then I watched Ajay Devgan's Drishyam 2,
Hmm.
right? So which is kind of 4 out of 5. But then both are
Hmm.
equal successes. Both are on box office. I believe both must have made give or take 50 crores, but both must have been equal kind of successes. So now that you have mentioned that movie, would you like to compare these two, juxtapose these two?
I think, Ajay, broadly speaking, no two films succeed or fail for the same reason. So I think it is a testament to the diverse taste of Indian movie-going audiences that two very different films like War and Drishyam 2 have tasted success. I mean, I would go one step further and compare Ajay Devgan's own previous film Tanaji, which had nothing to do with Drishyam. So Tanaji was a historical biopic, and Drishyam 2 was a remake of a very successful Malayalam film. So I think there are what it broadly proves, according to me, and of course I count Pathan as a part of that thing, is that any film which is well made and which has got a thoughtful
Okay.
campaign behind it in terms of how the film is marketed, how the public relation aspect of it is handled, would find audiences eager to go to that movie. Because you will, I mean, then if we go to the South Indian film, so Drishyam, which was originally a Mohanlal film, was extremely successful there. So was Bahubali, or so was, say, RRR. Now, Bahubali and RRR were epics in different times in Indian history. Drishyam was a very contemporary film. But I think the common thread to all three films was that they were all very well made films.
Well
The
made. Okay.
filmmakers put in a lot of effort in terms of creating them. And then they were also marketed very well. So I think when these two things come together, films of diverse taste find their audience.
Okay. This is, of course, we are going to talk much more politics than the movie itself. So my question is that the kind of reaction it drew from the audience. There was a boycott gang. I mean, that's that's a word going around. So I don't want to call them a gang. Nobody's a gang actually, because I mean, you and me must have never met a gang in our lives, right? A real gang. So but then there was a boycott call to the movie, and there were huge controversies. They were the censor asked them to change a song and the color of the bikini. I mean, that's what I heard. So do you think that these controversies were generated on purpose so as to, I mean, that gives them the free coverage, or it just happened? I mean, without any real purpose. What do you say?
I think it will be a little unfair to blame the movie makers for the controversy, because I really don't think any businessman would want calls of boycott on his business. End of the day, people who are producing the film are business people. So I don't think if I open a shop tomorrow, I would not want to have a publicity by way of people picketing in front of my shop. So I really don't think it was that. That being said, I think there is sufficient evidence in India and elsewhere that economic boycotts are extremely hard to make
Implement, yeah.
successful.
Yeah, yeah.
So economic boycotts really do not have a good success ratio. Uh, Also, I think you also have to understand that logically speaking, if you look at the way the human mind works, I think it is far more easier to give a positive recommendation, saying that okay, watch this film or read this book, rather than telling somebody that okay, don't watch this film or don't read that particular book. I don't think the boycott calls were unorganized. So the way at least I saw them on social media, they appeared to be well coordinated. They were promoted by people who are well followed, and they have been working on it for a long period of time. So it appeared to be a well coordinated campaign. But I think the nature of boycott, especially in things like entertainment, is that it is always an uphill task. And in a way, I think it's a positive sign for both sides that the film has kind of defied the calls of boycott and went on to generate whatever number of crores it has got uh, from the people who are on the other side of the boycott, so to say, politically. I think Pathaan is an example that a film, if it is well made and if it is well presented, if there is a professional approach to the way the film is being marketed or whatever it is being done, I think the calls of boycott don't work. So, which the corollary of that is, if your film failed, then you really cannot blame saying that okay, there was these bad people who were trying to boycott my film, because now we have an example where a film has worked in spite of fairly well coordinated campaign. So that is good for them. I think for this side, for the people who are largely, I mean, I really do not like that term, but largely speaking, people who are on the right side of the spectrum, right leaning side of the spectrum, I think you also have to understand that the nature of boycott is such that it's an exercise to control people on your side rather than trying to influence people on the other side.
Correct,
So
correct.
obviously, if I am saying that okay, don't watch something, I know that the leftist or the people who are on the other side are obviously not going to listen to me. So
Correct.
the demographic that I am trying to control is actually my own people.
In my own, yeah.
And I think at some point of time, there have been either it has been overused, or people have started realizing that it is being used very inconsistently, uh, because of which I think people are now no longer looking at it from the lens of politics, which was required. So I
Correct.
think it is good because today, because of social media and the electronic media has played a part, where literally everything is being viewed through the lens of politics. So a few years ago, there was a very popular post of a woman who said that she refused to go out with a guy because he said that he was voting for a party which was not her choice. So I think that's
Yeah.
a pathetic way to live, because we are allowing the politicians to make life decisions for us. So
Correct.
you and I will have our political opinion that we will express through ballot
Correct.
box once in 5 years or three times in 5 years, municipal, state, and
Yeah.
national election. But
Yeah.
beyond that, I really don't think we need to filter everything through the filter of politics in order to decide. So I think today the people who went, and such large numbers couldn't have come from one side of the fence alone. So which means that people who otherwise consider themselves right leaning are also watching this film, and I think that's a very positive sign. So that means that we are now learning to keep our entertainment apart from our politics.
Okay. So, do you really feel that people have matured over a period of time, say last one year, couple of years, or whatever? So, or do you see that this may be actually the other side? I mean, say Bollywood, Bollywood or leftist or whatever you want to call them, people on the left, were they more organized this time? They were ready for this kind of a boycott call.
I really don't know how being organized can help them bring people to the theaters. End of the day, sufficiently large number of people need to come to the theater in order for a film to do the kind of business that Pathaan is doing. And I really don't think left has influence on those many people. So at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
anecdotally in my own circle, I can often think of at least 30 people who would probably be not be leftist at all. By no stretch of imagination can they be called
Yeah.
leftist, and yet they have all gone and watched the film in the first 10 days since the release. So I really don't think it is that. Uh, I think it got released at the right time. So in Hollywood, the example is Top Gun Maverick. So Tom Cruise resisted the calls of releasing Top Gun and Mission Impossible 7 and 8 on OTT during the pandemic time, because he
Okay.
knew that those are the films that people will watch in big theaters.
The big
And
screen.
then Top Gun, when it came, it just blew away all the records. I mean, it was like $1 billion at the box office. So I think the way Top Gun Maverick was the right film at the right time, I think that is what the YRF films or Shah Rukh Khan or Siddharth Anand, who is the director, all these people put together. So they put together a package for which people as a whole, the cinema going public as a whole, was ready and waiting for. And that's probably the most professional explanation of the phenomenon that I can think of.
Okay. So Mayur, how do you look at the Lal Singh Chadda versus Pathaan? How do you want to compare that? Because I thought, I mean, I didn't watch either, but I thought Lal Singh Chadda was also there were backward calls, and Lal Singh Chadda bombed at the box office. So was it because of it was a bad movie or something else?
I really wouldn't like. There are certain reasons because of which I wouldn't like to particularly comment upon Lal Singh Chadda. So,
Okay.
and I mean a disclosure because I also work in the industry. There are people
Okay.
that I may know who may or may not have worked. But
Okay.
broadly speaking, I think it is during the recent Pune International Festival. I was on a panel where Balaji Vittal, a very well-known film critic, was also on the panel, and he said something which really made sense to me. I don't remember whether it was during the panel discussion or the offline discussion that we had. He said that the failure and the success of every film has different reasons. So no two films succeed for the same reason, no two films fail for the same reason. So why did Lal Singh Chaddha did not work is not the same reason why Pathaan worked, and vice versa. So I think even if you look at it from the genre perspective, Lal Singh Chaddha was a remake of Forrest Gump, so which
Yeah.
was more of a social drama category. Pathaan is a mainstream action spy verse kind of a film, so they belong to two different genres. Pathaan is an original story in the sense that it's not based upon any previously published material, whereas Lal Singh Chaddha was an official remake of the
Forrest Gump.
Oscar-winning film by Robert Zemeckis' Forrest Gump. So I think they were competing in different categories. They were attracting different demographics. So I think the demographic for social drama didn't take to Lal Singh Chaddha with the same intensity with which the demographic for action has taken to Pathaan. That's the
Yeah.
best explanation that I can think of.
Okay. So now, as whatever I read and heard about Pathaan, the theme goes something like this: that raw agent returns against his own country, and then an ISI agent is shown to be saving India, or rather, ISI is shown very friendly to India, to the Indian counterparts. So my point is that this India Pakistan love story, is it it really works, or typical left leaning Bollywood movie makers want to create such movies to spite right wing? I mean, how do you see it?
I don't think anybody would like I said that earlier, that I don't think any businessman would want his shop to be picketed. So I really don't see why would people who are investing hundreds of crores on a particular enterprise would do that in order to spite someone. So end of the day, people are aware of the uh, political environment in the country today. People are aware of which way a majority of the people are leaning. So I really do not see. So obviously, because I do not know any of the filmmakers associated with Pathaan personally, I am only making guess. But making an educated guess, I really don't see a businessman who has got hundreds of crores riding on a particular business doing something to spite someone. I
Okay.
also think that in terms of if you look at, I do not want to go get into the specifics of the story. But if you look at it from a trope perspective, I think the trope of a former army person turning on his own government,
Yeah.
or a enemy combatant turning helpful, are both tropes which are done enough number of times in English films. So if you look at Bond franchise, or if you look at the Bourne franchise, where Matt Damon had played the spy Jason Bourne,
Jason
or if
Bond.
you look at that broadly speaking, that spy universe, I think the two most common trope that I can think of is a former soldier turning on his own country because of whatever reasons, because of his disillusionment, disappointment. And I think the origin of that lies in Frederick Forsyth's novel, The Day of the Jackal, where President Charles de Gaulle is sought to be assassinated by a group of people who were at one point of time soldiers of France.
Okay.
Soldiers of France who have turned into militant. So I think from there you can draw a line and see the number of times this particular trope has been used. So I think it is broadly a question of whether you wish to interpret the actions of the filmmaker with charity or with cynicism. So the people who are interpreting it charitably see nothing wrong with it because they have seen it dozens of times before. So this is not the first time that they are doing it. People who really do not wish to give that benefit of doubt are getting upset over this. And specifically talking about Deepika's character, I really think it's a no-win situation, because if you are not interpreting that action charitably, then you could show. So what other option? Let us for a minute think what other options are there. So you could show her a Indian Hindu woman, in which case the objection would have been, no, no, the hero is Pathaan and the woman is
Yeah.
Hindu, so we are taking an objection to that. Or you would have shown her as an Indian Muslim woman, in which case the objection similar to. So end of the day, it is really not about what character is being written. It's about whether you wish to interpret that with charity or with cynicism, or charity is probably not a word that I'm looking for. Open-mindedness or cynicism. So
Mhm.
people who interpret it with open mind would remember similar films from past in India as well as the Angrezi films, and would say that, okay, this is what. The second thing is that Alex Denarlis Jr., the Academy Award winning writer of Birdman, he likes to use a term called 999, which means that every scene can be written in 1,000 ways. And I
Okay.
have written it in one particular way. There are other 999 equally
Letters
valid
still
ways
left to go.
with
Okay.
which it could be written. Now, could that character have been written by other 999 ways? Sure, why not? But is Siddharth Anand or the people who are associated with making the film have bad intention? At least my answer is no. I really don't think that as an spiteful action.
One last question before I let you go on this one is that had they just created a Rahul, which Shah Rukh Khan made his career by playing Rahul for many decades. So had they created a Rahul and had they copied Uri in a different way, not really copied, but kept the line straight, it wouldn't have been such a big hit. That's what they feared.
It is really not telling, because we are talking about a different film altogether, right? So, I mean, Shah Rukh Khan has an enviable track record of success, but even he has had a couple of films that didn't work as well. So we really do not know what kind of film would have been created. So I really don't think that that's a valid comparison in terms of why did he not created another Uri and why did he create Pathaan? Because
Yeah.
I mean, everybody creates a film differently, so there is really no answer to that.
Okay. 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 I'm sure you are aware about the handle by the name of James of Bollywood and all those kind of right wing handles, and they have done some real good work. That's what I think. I mean to show us over a period of decades how, for example, a Brahmin or a Thakur is being shown in the bad light. Now, I also think that if the majority of the community is Hindu, so for them, a daily villain in most of the times is a Hindu himself. So I understand, right? But then if you look at those handles and if you really follow them, you visit their timelines, so it gives a feeling that there is definitely a theory at work. I mean, there are some people at work. So you still you buy this argument, or do you think, no, James of Bollywood is just another crackpot guy? I mean, how do you look at it?
followed that handle, so I really would not be able to comment on that. But I
Okay.
think we go back to the question of interpretation of actions.
Right.
So, for a country which produces as many films as India does, for as
Okay.
many years as India has, so I am sure if we go back to the beginning, maybe 1950s, and start digging out data. So there is a saying that if you torture statistics, you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
get
yeah.
it to confess
Long
almost
enough, then
anything.
yeah.
If I want to make the same argument against Brahmins or against
Okay.
Hindus or against communists or against capitalists, I think I can find sufficiently large number of examples to send out one tweet every day for maybe, I don't know. I mean, in India, I really don't even know how many films are created, but I'm thinking maybe the number will be about 200, 250. With OTT, it might be even bigger. And we are talking about a 70-year history. So if we are talking about a movie data bank of 14,000, 15,000 films, then I think finding 300 examples or finding 200 examples of these kind of things, and mind you, this 200 examples in all likelihood from 200 different filmmakers. So what the real problem with these kind of interpretation that I have is you are really not willing to look at filmmakers as individuals creating some kind of a individual
Yeah.
work, but you're thinking of them as some kind of a homogeneous
Yeah. Yeah.
blob of opposition, which is all coming together and conspiring and creating that. Now again, that's a question of interpretation. I really do not have any argument with people who say that okay, there has been a grand conspiracy in the last 50 years of Bollywood for doing that. There is. I have a friend who says that this is a conspiracy of people to move the film industry from Mumbai to Noida. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is like the mirror of somebody not interpreting the action of the handle that you have mentioned charitably. What is happening is that if you are looking at Mumbai, the Bollywood film industry, with the cynicism that we just now discussed, I think it is only a matter of time before somebody says that okay, but why are you doing this with this? Do you have an ulterior motive in that? And I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
don't think that's an argument that I want to get into as a film fan and as a creative person. So in my case, I really think that if you try to find examples, you can find examples of not only this. You can give me any phenomenon, and I'm sure I can give you 200 to 50 examples of that. Whether to what degree you want to attach the importance, and whether you are so again, you want to apply that test of how likely for okay, let me phrase it this way that keep the issue aside for a minute, whether a film industry, think about a industry which is diverse, which has got, I don't know, 2 3 thousand people working at any point of time on creating something new. What is the likelihood that those people will be able to coordinate over a
Yeah.
period of 40 years for one purpose? And to me that doesn't pass the smell test. So I continue to interpret the action in a open-minded manner. I think you will always have an example here and there where actions of a particular group are not interpreted charitably. Largely speaking, filmmakers the world over are left leaning, they are
Correct.
anti government, they are anti
Perfect.
establishment.
I
So,
buy. I buy. I
so
buy that.
I am none of them. So I do not consider myself as anti establishment or anti government. I am actually in favor of more government rules and regulations for a lot of things, if not for this. But whether you are looking at those people who are simply adhering to a tradition which has been going on as some kind of members of a conspiracy group or not depends upon your interpretation. I really don't think so. People who agree with you will follow you. People who don't agree with you will not follow you.
I'm comparing two scenes or other different kind of genres of movies. Now, for example, in a movie, a young Hindu girl is shown reading namaz. So, do you and I mean, those are typical Bollywood kind of movies where no one would mind till this fascist government came in and started brainwashing us. Till then, nobody saw it like that. But then it was quite a regular thing that a Hindu people going to dargahs and doing namaz. Against that, suddenly movies come from South came in, Bahubali, and then they were period dramas. So the Islamic the thing was completely removed. There was no need to show any namaz or azan going on, and so they were different kind of movies. So My question is, did Bollywood ever try to make those kind of movies? And
I
if they
think
never, there was any there wasn't there any design behind?
I think the Chopra family, which is a Bollywood family, created Mahabharata. Ramanand Sagar, who again came from the Bollywood tradition, he created Ramayana. So I really don't think, and in fact, Mahabharata writer was a Muslim gentleman himself, Dr. Rahim Masum Raza, and probably it's created one of the greatest epic that we have seen on the screen. I mean, considering the technological constraints that we
Yeah,
have had in
yeah, yeah. They
1980s
had correct.
in India, the achievement of Mahabharata was nothing short of stunning. So I mean, you can even one can even argue that that is where the tradition has started, which is now being carried forward by some of the South films. So I really don't think
Yeah.
that's a choice. One, number two, you'll also see it from a broad cultural perspective. If the films which are being made in Hindi are primarily catering to the north and
Okay.
northwest kind of audiences, and the films which are being made in south are being catering to the south audiences, I think South India has a richer history in terms of the folklores which are there, in terms of the myths which are there. The temples have far more grandeur, and I will not go into the reason why it is so and why it is not in that case. But I think they have a history and a heritage which caters itself very easily to making the kind of epic films that we are talking about. And in many ways, so I think 2 3 years back, Ajay Devgan produced Tanaji on the brave Maratha warrior Tanaji Malusre. So I think to a certain extent, those things would continue to happen. I was told that now there are even talks of remaking Anand Math, so based on Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's novel. So I think those kind of things will continue to happen. I really
Yeah,
don't see that as
so
a problem.
I just want to come in there. So you feel that the taste of people have changed and Bollywood is responding to it now, maybe film walas, not Bollywood.
I
Tanaji, for
think
example.
people,
Tanaji.
yeah. So Tanaji was a big hit, big success. So
Yeah.
again, I think we keep on going back to how well the product is made. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Ajay Devgan, who made Tanaji, he also made Drishyam Part 2, and which was again a big success last year.
Correct.
So
Correct.
completely different films with the same star cast. So Ajay Devgan has played the lead in both the films. But
Correct.
then Drishyam 2 was a faithful remake of the Malayalam film based, I think Malayalam film, the Mohanlal film on which it was based.
Okay.
And Tanaji
That I
was a
didn't know.
fairly authentic depiction of the Maratha history, the way it is done. So I think it comes back to the main issue of how well the product is made. So
Okay.
when a good filmmaker has produced a contemporary thriller and a contemporary a historic fiction, we have responded well to both of them. So I really don't think that is the issue.
Okay. 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 We can come to a conclusion that 30 years back they wouldn't have made a Tanaji kind of, or as I told you, I watched a movie on ये Pavan Khinder, for example, the movie Pavan Khinder,
Mm.
and then there
Mm.
were 4 or 5 movies coming out uh, from the same period. Shivaji Maharaj, Baji Prabhu, and then other soldiers of Shivaji. So the 4 or 5 movies came in the same period. So do you really feel that they would have made same these kind of movies say 30 years back? Six
I
in six
think
months.
I think it is more to do with the Hindi speaking audience becoming more accepting of Marathi history. So because the Marathi film industry never stopped making films about the Maratha warriors. So I remember there was a very famous film called Sarja, which was
Right.
kind of a historical adventure drama starring Mr. Ajinkya Dev and I
Okay.
think his real life wife, if I'm not mistaken. So you can go back every 5 10
Okay.
years and you'll see
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bunch of films coming. Unfortunately, because of whatever, maybe because of regional chauvinism, maybe because of the language constraints, but I think the North Indian audience was never very open to watching the kind of historic epics that we are doing. I think social media has done a great job of
correct,
marketing
correct,
the
correct, correct.
Marathi history as a whole. So now people in North India have become aware of who also probably everybody knew who Shivaji Maharaj was, but people may not have known what were the Peshwas doing,
Yeah.
or some of the knights in Shivaji Maharaj's cabinet, like Tanaji Malusre or Netaji Palkar or those people. Now these are household names to you and me because we have we are Marathi people. But
Correct.
people who have lived in Uttar Pradesh or Uttarakhand or maybe in the eastern part of the country have now started becoming aware of them. Part of that credit goes to social media. So I think that is one of the positive work that the right leaning social media has done. And I think now that is automatically resulting into people becoming more, people having that appetite for that. So on one hand, the grandeur and the scale has come from south. So people have
Correct.
seen. So in Bahubali 2, when you see that elephant coming towards
Yeah,
Ramya
yeah, yeah.
and Prabhas's character going, now that's the kind of moment that as a viewer, as a cinegoer, you live
Yeah,
for those kind of moments.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think South offered that scale and that grandeur and the beauty in that grandeur, and the history was always there. The history went nowhere. So it is just now that the appetite has been opened now.
Okay, okay, okay. So kind of last question. You really feel that Bollywood is not interested in spiting the right wing? My really, I mean the question is that do you really this kind of feeling is there because of some of the statements by Amir Khan and Shah Rukh Khan, that this is not a safe place to live and something like that. So I mean, if they stop, a simple solution is they stop meddling into politics, we'll have a better understanding between the society and the stars.
I'm really not aware of any statements that Shah Rukh Khan has made offhand. I don't remember them.
No, no, I mean
So
three
I
four years
think
back,
the,
three four
the
years back.
part of it was also, I think, one of the things that a very common feedback that has been given to me by people around me is they really admired Shah Rukh, the way he conducted himself in the last 1.5 year in his personal life, especially with
When
the
his
things
when
that
his
were
son was
happening.
arrested. Correct, right.
So yeah, I mean that among other things. So that has created a very positive impression of him in terms of the resilience that he has demonstrated, the dignity that he has demonstrated. Other than that, again, I'm only expressing my personal opinion. I am really not in favor of choosing my films or my books or my music
Yeah, yeah,
based
yeah.
upon whether I agree with the politics of those people or not. So I read something like 60 books a year, of which
Yeah,
about 30-35 are
I'm
fiction.
aware. Yeah.
And if I decide that I'll not read any left-leaning writers' fiction, I would not have enough material to read in
Correct.
any case. So I'm really not a big fan of deciding on whether to watch a film or not watch a film. I
No,
remember I had written
my,
an
my,
article.
my, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if
I'm
you'd
sorry.
allow me to complete it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So
Please,
uh,
please, please.
I remember criticizing what Amir had said in 2014, but I went and watched Doom 3 a year or two later. I mean, I don't remember when it came.
Correct.
And I
Correct.
enjoyed his work in that film. I enjoyed the film. So I think it is the onus is really not on the creators. The onus is on you. And the question that you need to ask yourself is, to what degree am I going to allow my politics to dominate my personal life? Because at the end of the day, the only person who is going to live a joyless existence is you. So the restrictions that you are putting on are not restrictions on anyone else. Those restrictions on you. You will have lesser number of movies to choose from. You will have lesser number of books to read from. You will have lesser number of comedians to laugh to. So
Mm.
we live as ordinary human beings. We live really hard lives. We have many challenges. I really don't see the need of making it more difficult by making our entertainment pass the test of our politics every time.
Okay, okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So it went longer than I thought, and thank you so much. So, but
My pleasure.
going ahead, I would like to have some kind of a space for cultural exchanges on this channel, because
So
I proudly
you
run a show by the name of Nivar Rajkaran, where I talk only politics, which I really love talking about. But then it seems people want some change also. So thank you so much for giving us time, and it
My
is
pleasure, Ajay.
wonderful,
It was very nice
wonderful
of you to
talking
have
to
me
you.
on the show.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.